I'm very excited about this particular chat. I've read Kingdom Come many, many times over the years. It's one of those comics that when I pick it up, I can't put it down. And today I'm speaking with two very special people. We've all learned now about the legend of Kingdom Come, this fantastic documentary that will happen. We are manifesting that. And today I'm speaking with Sal Abbinanti and Remsy Attasi, all about this, the producer and director, and two wonderful people that are making this project happen. So, gentlemen, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
I mean, this is a big project. I know there's a lot of work going into this. So basically, I wanted to know as much as possible, as much as you are willing to tell me, and how the world can help make this amazing project happen.
Why don't you get started, Remsy? He's the
Okay, yeah. So the backstory on the film, and I guess the backstory on my involvement. So Sal has worked with Alex for many decades, and Sal and I met about maybe 8 or 9 years ago, and I'm a filmmaker by trade. I've done some features on my own and a lot of short films and commercials and things like that. And I grew up with comics in the 90s, like so many other kids, but I wouldn't say I was like a crazy comic person. A rabid fan, which there are obviously now. I've been doing this for long enough. I've met them, the fans, the amazing fan base.
They're out there.
And so but when I met Sal, he reached out to me as a filmmaker. He was trying to develop some content and get some things started with Alex Ross. And so I was fascinated from the start, kind of as an outsider looking in. And over those years, Alex became kind of my window into comics. And he's a bit of a comic historian. So I also got his pedagogy, I guess you could say, straight from the horse's mouth. And so as we were working on his channel, I had this idea to work on a bigger project because I'm a filmmaker. And so I was just like, this is an amazing subject. And as I dug deeper and deeper working with Alex, we would shoot a bit for him. And then we'd maybe take a day where we would shoot for the doc. So, we would kind of set it aside and be like, okay, we'll figure out what we're going to do with this later. I was interested in a doc on Alex, but Alex was, less interested in that. I think when we started talking about some of his specific work, it was clear that Kingdom Come, he had a lot to say about it. And obviously it's such a pivotal work for him in his career and his style. And I looked at it as I was learning about this stuff. And now, I mean, it's been a long time I've been immersed in this culture. You can definitely see it all over the place, both his influence, but then also he's kind of telling the story of the history of these characters. And so that was my entry point, because I was like, this is movies for the fans, but also the way that he tells the story. If we can tell people about everything that goes into it, like, you can kind of become a fan of the book, but then you also learn about the history of comics. And I thought that was just really interesting.
Yeah, so you're being taught by someone that has got quite a lot of information on the subject. So you've had a good comics teacher there, Remsy. That's for sure.
That's right. That's right.
And Sal, how did this project come to you? I mean, I know you've been working with Alex for quite some time now. You've clearly got this great bond. You know how each other work. What was it like getting this project to become a reality?
Well, we had shot Remsy and I had shot a lot of footage with Alex over the years, and whether it was social media posts or whether it was art books that I'd worked on with Alex, Marvelocity and Mythology and art exhibitions and all the stuff we'd done in the last 27 years. But we just felt like Remsy and I kind of agreed, as we were moving along in the filmmaking process, we wanted to do something a little more long format. And every signing, every appearance I've ever done with Alex, for his signings at stores, and whether it's art openings or whatever, you could just tell that disproportionately everybody in line two-thirds have Kingdom Come in their hand than the other stuff. No offense to any of the other things Alex has done. And it was the same with when you look at kind of the gauge of whatever we do a social media post of art or any kind of a clip. Kingdom Come by far is the one that gets the biggest bump, and that's the one that his fan base reveres. So when we were thinking of doing something a little more fleshed out, Remsy and even Alex to a certain point was kind of not all that hot on the idea of just doing a general documentary about him, because we thought, okay, great, but it doesn't really have the juice, so to speak, or the emotional leverage that Kingdom Come had. So we thought, and I had the unique experience of that was right around the time I met Alex. We were both working in advertising together at Leo Burnett, and we were just friends. And I saw kind of from the ground up how Kingdom Come was created. And there were a lot of unique stories there and a lot of background, kind of behind the music kind of thing, where you get to see, hey, this wasn't always hugs and kisses the way people see it as this fantastic piece of comic history. It started very, very humble beginnings at a bar in a sketchbook with a bunch of guys talking and a bunch of friends of his. So I thought there was a lot of interesting stuff there that we could wrap around, and then also the influence Kingdom Come had moving forward past its release. And so Remsy and I thought, hey, okay, there's something there with a narrative. And especially also in the doc, we touch upon what was going on in the comics world in the 90s. Because you remember, it was crazy.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
There was a lot of stuff going on.
And that's what I love about, I've read the synopsis of this documentary so many times now that I feel that I'm a part of the crew. I want this project to happen so much that I can't wait for this Kickstarter to begin. And we will talk about that later on, because to me, the moment that this particular story came into my hand, it was this particular book. It wasn't the comic series. It wasn't the individual issues. It was this very dogged comic that has traveled with me to certain places around the world. That
Sure.
when I opened up that first page and started reading it, I knew roughly what the story was about. I didn't know it in all its majesty.
Right.
But from page one, from the visuals to the text to the storyline, it's one of those moments where you think, wow, this is a big story. This has got some power behind it. And I mean, I think there was a quote that you left, Remsy, where you said Alex Ross can take almost anyone and turn them into a comic fan. And I mean, that's the perfect statement to make. If people say, what Superman stories do you recommend? I recommend this book along with many others, because this is, for me, it certainly made me a lot more respect for the world of comics and storytelling. So that's one of the many things I want to wish Alex Ross and thank him for one day. But you guys are doing such fantastic work with making this story out there. And it's clearly a very passionate project for you both. What are you most excited for people to be informed about with this documentary?
I think it touches upon what you just said. I mean, it really is for the fans. It's not a documentary that's has an agenda outside of, yes, it has a narrative that anybody who's outside of comics can follow and be, draw their interest in and draw their curiosity into the comics world. But you don't have to be a fan to enjoy the film, but it's really made for the fans, because I'm a comic guy. I mean, I grew up, I'm as big a comic fan as you are. I've been reading comics since I was, a kid. And that's how Alex and I met, and I'm also a comic artist. So it became one of those things where we wanted to make a doc about the book, but we also knew that there were a lot of trappings there that we needed to touch, the boxes we needed to check off, because the Kingdom Come fan base is not going to tolerate just a glossed over kind of broader strokes of okay, no, I don't apologize for this stuff. I mean, I love it, and that's kind of what we wanted to convey when Remsy and I first talked, to say, yes, all the interviews, all the backstory, but the narrative has to clearly, the DNA, the soul of the doc has to be about the art of the book and the content of Kingdom Come, and why people are so drawn to it, and why it's this piece of comic history.
I'm getting goosebumps already. This is what I wanted to hear, Sal.
I told that to Alex in a conversation we had, and he kind of stopped and he looked at me, and I said, I always felt that Kingdom Come is one of the top 5 graphic novels of all time. And it really was. I mean, The Dark Knight Returns and Mouse and Watchmen kind of set the table for Kingdom Come. And Alex knew that this was, and these were his guys. He's a huge DC guy. So
Yeah.
Superman is his guy. So, and his father is you know, the main the main character at the beginning. And it was important to him for his, you know, to include his father. It almost is, it's a perfect setting, his father being a minister in real life and in the book. So it's kind of also a love letter to his father.
I do love that, the connections that we see in this book. And every now and again Alex will share a post on Twitter where it's his artwork that he did when he was a child compared to what he creates today. I mean, there's a slight difference in comparison. I mean, I'm not an art judge or an art critic, but you could still tell at a young age he was very, very gifted. And I would just be amazed to be able to sit down one day and watch him create, to be a fly on that wall and see his office, to see that desk.
We touch upon it, and that's what we felt was important to touch upon, and it's
Wonderful.
in the documentary. We wanted to show you a soup to nuts, how he creates it, him kind of talking you through paintings and him talking you through the process of his creation and what was behind Kingdom Come. And it was important, you know, for us to get a lot of that, but also to get kind of, you see what's, you know, really behind the story of the book and the artist as well.
Yeah, to me, that's that Wizard of Oz moment of looking behind the curtain. Remsy, what was that like for you as you know, as another creator, another artist, to be able to sit down and almost get inside the head of Alex Ross? What was that like for you?
Well, I mean, I think even people who are not fans of comics at all would look at his work and say that he's a singular talent. That's one of the things that's so amazing. And like you had that quote for me, but the truth is Sal realized this about Alex 30 years ago when he started, you know, working with him, because Alex's work is elevated. And I mean, comic art, and it's a lot of folks we talked to, and we have amazing creators, over 30 people that we interviewed for this film. But I think that they'll say that about Alex too, which is that comics was in many ways a disposable medium, or that was how it was treated. And Alex's work is anything but that. I mean, his paintings are, you know, on the walls of galleries. And when you take a look at, okay, well, now he's this titan, but you take a look at the book and his process and when it went into it, and all that same like attention to detail and thought, if anything more so, because he was so passionate about it, he was there doing this on this long form storytelling piece. And it's I mean, anyone can look at the book and get it. Like, it doesn't even matter if you know the characters, but then once you do realize with him and Mark how much deeper it goes and how they're really telling kind of a history of comics and also responding in such a way it's like a response to the stuff at the time. I think that's like, we try to tell that story in the film too, because I just found that all very interesting. And he's like almost a comic. I mean, he is basically a comic historian. I would say Mark is essentially the same way. These guys have an encyclopedic knowledge of the history of comics, and all of their work is informed and referential and such. So you can appreciate it for just what it is, but then it's so much richer than that when you know a little bit more of the story. So that we definitely wanted to tell that. And I learned it from these guys.
And I love that. Clearly, I'm a big Superman fan. That's obvious to me, but I love when people talk about Superman and comics with so much life and passion. And I've watched countless interviews with Mark Waid and panels, and the passion that he has for his work, but the characters that he helps bring to life is heroic to me. And I'm glad that he's going to be a part of this documentary, as so many other fantastic, talented people. Who are some of these interviews that we've got coming in this documentary, guys?
We wanted to start with, you know, the grassroots. We started with Alex and Mark, and we got Alex's father. And because we wanted to also get kind of the backstory of the people that contributed, the people here in town in Chicago, who were some of those models, you know, were worked on it, that Alex, you know, kind of helped him flesh out the series, so to speak, at the beginning. But we also, to Remsy's point, we felt it was important to get creators people, their perspective from an outsider's point of view of what the reaction was when they first started to see the advertising campaign leading up to the book, and then when the release of the book came out, and the seismic effect it had on the comic industry at the time. So we were fortunate enough to get, Todd McFarlane and Brian Pulido and Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor and Paul
Dini, yeah.
Yes.
And a lot of creators, Tony Akins and the Benson sisters were terrific. And then a lot of, Remsy got some tremendous interviews with man on the street. It was important for us to talk to the fan base of comics and people that were there who didn't read it necessarily when it came out, but discovered it later on. And also people in the comic store owners, what their response to it was when it came out. And even, again, the man on the street at shows. And so we felt we got a nice cross section of, lots of different points of view.
Wonderful stuff. Going back briefly, talking about models and how Alex Ross brings these heroes to life. You are a bit of a help with that, weren't you, Sal? You were one of those key heroes in the making.
That's where I felt we had some kind of emotional leverage on the subject. Was I was just a friend of his. We weren't working together, and we were in a group, a Thursday night group of comic artists, local Chicago comic artists that got together on Thursday nights to kind of just talk shop. Marvels had come out, but Alex was a household name, but. Kingdom Come was something that he was working on. It was something that he was sitting there with his sketchbook. So he started to reach out to some of us because he likes to use photo reference for certain characters. And he had Frank Casey, which was his Superman model from the start, going all the way back to his advertising days. And a friend of his was Batman. And then he was kind of looking for Captain Marvel. And I had just met him, and then he asked, "Hey, have you ever heard of Captain Marvel?" And I said, "Sure," but I thought he meant the Marvel version. I didn't know he meant the DC version. And I had only known Captain Marvel from the Ridiculous television show. That for me as a kid, I was a Marvel guy. I wasn't a DC guy. And so I said, "Yeah, that really kind of stupid costume." And yeah. And I didn't realize he was such a huge Captain Marvel fan that then I kind of tempered it with like, all right, I'll shut up because he really likes this character. And then he's like, "Would you mind modeling for me for Captain Marvel?" And I said, "Hey, as a fellow artist, any way you can help another artist." You said, "Sure." But the thing I noticed about him immediately is he took this very, very seriously. There were no grab ass sessions. This was strictly, here's my layouts, here's my compositions, here's my lighting approach to this. This is what I need from you. This is what's going on. And immediately we started taking some photo sessions. So now, did I realize it was going to affect me for years afterwards, or people were going to come up to me when the book came out? I had no idea that people, I was going to sign hundreds and hundreds of copies of Kingdom Come to this day, where people call me Billy Batson and make their stupid jokes of, say the magic word and all that. And it's fine. I think it's cool. But even my kids give me a hard time with it, But yeah, being Captain Marvel was kind of not what I expected when it came out. It was cool. My kids get a big bang out of it to this day. And then he also used me for Captain Marvel in Power of Hope, which was easier because we had a better costume than the hospital gown that he used in Kingdom Come. It was a really cheap costume. And but no, anything to help. And he was always tremendously you realize this is art. This is serious. This is not, oh, it's just comics. No, this is something that we don't apologize for. This is a true art form.
And that's what I loved about when I was at San Diego Comic-Con. That booth has seemed to grow over the years. And it's wonderful to see people like yourself there working hard and, selling those prints, but also letting people know what comic art can be. And yes, it has evolved over the years. One of the things that got me into Superman was the world of Smallville. And a very good friend of mine, Derek from the Smallville podcast, sent me these recently. Now these were
Oh yeah.
these were the TV guides that were very hard to get here in the UK, but just
That's
even then
awesome.
back then, absolutely stunning artwork on the front of a TV guide. And it's, I think now people do think, when they think of Superman, people will think of Alex Ross. It's hard not to put those two names together. And this documentary is, it's going to be a fantastic adventure for fans to get a closer connection with their heroes and with comics. But not only that, for people from the outside looking into to learn more about what a comic can be. And Remsy, what are you hoping that the viewers get out of this? The ones that necessarily aren't massive comic fans.
I think this movie is for the fans. Absolutely. Like we want to give people those the inside baseball, you know, the behind the scenes, the thousands of scanned pages that come from the archives, thumbnails, sketches, Alex stuff from years ago. But as a filmmaker trying to tell a bit of a broader story, I think that there's a few things. One is, I think Kingdom Come, if you're a comic fan, it's a household name. If you're a more casual, maybe comic follower, maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. But I think that it's very, we try to tell that story where it's like, if if you're a fan of comics, if you're a fan of Alex Ross, but also if you are just a fan of pop culture in general, this can tell a really cool story. And I think now more than ever, people are looking, I mean, with the films, the Marvel and DC films and the properties that have happened in the past 10 years, or you go to San Diego Comic-Con where we've gone and we've filmed for years, where there's hundreds of thousands of people there. It's like, this is mainstream pop culture. And it's built on these stories. It's built on these artists and storytellers who kind of have taken these heroes, these mythic kind of characters through time. And so looking back at seeing all the different versions of it and what was so influential about this book to how we can see it now in the modern sort of pop culture era is, I think that's a very accessible story. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I can't wait to dive deep into that. I'm hoping it's going to be about 10 hours long. I want it to be with Blu-rays, we can always have extra footage, but
We have extra stuff. We
got a
set
lot of so much material.
We had to cut it at some point because
Oh.
it just got to become the grand opus. So, but yes, the Blu-ray will include lots of extra content.
Oh, so let's talk about that Blu-ray. How can people help make this happen, Sal?
Well, the crowdfunding was important. Remsy and I have done a few of them in the past, and we find that there's a unique experience with crowdfunding, that you can reach an independent market, or there's an enormous fan base that loves that interaction with the creators, whether it's a film or a graphic novel or a product directly from the creator. And that was important to us because Remsy and I are both independent creators. And so Kickstarter was important for us to have that idea that you can get the Blu-ray from us, you can get the video on demand from us, where you can either get it one of two ways, but lots of trappings, lots of extra stuff, lots of extra product, from movie poster sets of these Kingdom Come movie posters we made, lithograph sets, card sets, different we have certain limited edition versions of the Blu-ray which people want. We have signed stuff by Alex.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, it's important, but the be all end all is we want you to get the film. We want people to see this film. And so the film is basically in the can. It's done. We find that there's a certain delivery of it, and order fulfillment from doing Kickstarters in the past, we realize, is 99% of the battle, whereas creating a product is one thing. Getting out there, getting fans to support it is obviously, we're tremendously grateful. But if you don't deliver the product, they don't want to hear your problems. They don't care about your problems. So this film is ready to go. We just felt that Kickstarter, it was important for us. What we're going to do with it after, we're not concerned about. But right now, we find that having done conventions and done comic shows for the last, 29, 30 years, I find that I like the fan base directly. So that was our approach with Kickstarter.
Wonderful. I can't wait to give this Blu-ray out to gifts for people for presents and birthdays. And just, if you want to watch a film, watch this. I've got 15 copies in a drawer
I
back
won't be
home.
disappointed. It's a good film. It really is. We were Remsy and I were both pleased. I mean, we went through a lot of editing over the last few years, and I really think we landed on something that the fan base is going to really, really enjoy.
I'm very, very excited. There will be links to all of these websites and your social media channels in this podcast video when it goes live. But you've both been doing fantastic work. Anybody that adds to the what I call the Superman tapestry is a hero of mine. So thank you both for all the hard work you have done over the years. And please send on my many, many thanks to Alex. I've sent him many thank you emails over the years, and I think it was a very exciting moment when he followed me back on Twitter. I was like, oh, he knows I exist. It was a big moment for me.
He's not as social media savvy as a lot of people, but he definitely is aware of what's on the internet. He's a savant in that way. He just likes to stay in his studio.
He loves to paint.
And that's the thing. And then that's Batman in his Batcave. That's Superman in his fortress. He's doing his work. But I mean, every now and again, he will share something that will just make the internet go absolutely loopy. I think recently we shared another image of photoshopped Christopher Reeve in the Kingdom Come suit, which is wow. Even in Kingdom Come, he has that. It's in memoriam for Christopher Reeve, but that picture always gets the world talking. Like, is he going to be in, is he doing that? Or it's special that he's got such a great fandom out there, and Alex knows what he's doing. So yeah, please send on my thanks. But what I would love to know from Alex, I mean, you may be able to answer this on his behalf, is the fact that the fans out there simply adore all of his interpretations. We got to see Brandon Routh as Superman again recently, a few years ago, in the Crisis on Infinite Earths, and he was wearing that Kingdom Come logo, and that was just amazing for so many. But what's it like being able to see Alex's work come to life for you, Sal?
I always felt it was important. I always felt that it should be. I was grabbed from the start and felt that Alex's work belonged in galleries, and it wasn't just. I always cringed at the phrase, "Oh, it's just comics." I always felt it's like, no, it's not. It's a legitimate art form. And when I started to do shows overseas, I realized, wow, they really take it as an art form in other countries, in Asia and in France and in Italy. And so I think Alex is very protective of his creations, because he always had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder of Hollywood not doing or not taking it as seriously as they should. I mean, over the last 10, 15 years with the surge of comic book movies, they have started to approach it that way. But you remember, I probably date you a lot from age-wise, but from the 70s and 80s, they were just horrible. Their interpretations of the comic book world were deplorable, with the exception of when Chris Reeve, Superman. And so Alex likes it, but he's very, very cautiously optimistic of their approach to how they take the subject matter on, so to speak.
And
we touch upon that in the documentary. It was important.
I mean, he's an incredible fan, I would say. I mean, Alex is a huge, he's got to be one of the biggest fans of this stuff, because he's so passionate about it. And I think that to some degree, it is like the Wizard of Oz, where he's a little bit behind the scenes, and that's kind of where in a way, it's like it's where he needs to be. It's where he should be, because he still has a lot to say. And that's what's really great about Alex, is he's had this long career, but he remains prolific. And when you see his process, which you'll see in the film, and we've documented over many years in different ways, I think one of the things that's so astounding is how he's able to do stuff so quickly. And it's not because he's phoning it in. It's because he's able to really see it, I think, in his head at this point. He's fully realized it, and his technical ability allows him to kind of bring this stuff to life in a very consistent way, which is, just an achievement in itself.
Yeah, I'd love to, again, just to peek behind that curtain and see how Alex thinks about the current world of superheroes and how they are such a huge part of it. I think James Gunn recently shared an image of his studios, and his office, and there was a big wall filled of sort of iconic Superman artwork, and Alex's work was up there. And I thought, if I was Alex in that moment, I'd be like, yeah, he knows what he's doing. He's got a good idea of what the fans want. But that's what I'm looking forward to with this documentary, is just learning a little bit more about the man that has brought this part of Superman to life, this part of comic storytelling. So that's definitely why I can't wait to
You won't be
back
disappointed. We tick that box.
I can't wait to back this documentary, to watch it time and time again, to hopefully talk with you guys more in the future about it as well. But for those that are listening and watching online, where can they find out more about this project, guys?
legendofkingdomcome.com. You can find all the links there to support the film, support the Kickstarter. You can learn a bit more about the project. And yeah, of course, on Kickstarter, Legend of Kingdom Come, search for it. We're going to be, we're going to be up there September 24th to October 24th. And we just want to bring the fans in on the journey. It's for people who back this project. You're not going to be disappointed. We got a great film. We're going to deliver it to you in a really amazing package. And those who are on the journey, I think there's going to be a lot of great incentives to stick around. So get in, you know.
Just a little bit of a tease there. I like that, Remsy. Thank you for that. Just a little bit. I like that. Sal, Remsy, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for everything you have done over the years and will do in the future. This is going to be a beautiful journey, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
Thank you very much.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.